It is the first day of summer. It is the last day of the kiddos' school year. That's it. That's all. Mr. Soap and Clay is gone. It is a wild day. Longest day of the year. Happy solstice for everybody also. And today we are making a mask, a clay mask, a face mask. And we're not just going to like throw some clay in with some water and call it a day. Nay, nay. I like my masks to actually have a huge benefit and be moisturizing and all the jazz. So that's what we're going to make today from fresh spinach and some glycerites and all kinds of fun things that I made for this. And I will tell you more about all of that in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things. And as I said, today you are here for a spinach mud mask. Now, I have been playing with all fresh ingredients throughout all the soaps that we've been doing throughout June and some of May, and I have been really loving it and loving the benefits that it's providing to the actual soap bars. But all of these beautiful ingredients that we've been using, like spinach, really have awesome topical benefits as well. And that's not something that you're going to be getting out of a soap. And so I wanted to play with this within cosmetics as well. So that's what we will be doing today. We will be making a spinach and turmeric face mask, focusing very heavily on all of the skin loving benefits that come from the spinach. And we're going to talk about that as we incorporate everything. And also, as I said, we're going to be doing an emulsified mask, so a moisturizing mask. This mask will contain oils within all of it to help moisturize the skin as the clays are firming up. Ensure that you're not going to get that really like dry, cracked riverbed stage and like the whole thing is just dry and just sucking all of the life out of your skin. But instead, it's going to be drying while pushing that beautiful oil and all of the glycerites and all the actives that we put into it into your skin to yield a fresh, beautiful complexion. So, that is what we are going to make today. I am giving recipes, all of the jazz. Let's get to the making so we can talk about all the ingredients, why I selected them, and how you can make it yourself. So, playing with spinach clay masks today. So, we have spinach and turmeric clay masks, and within each phase, we are going to talk about all of the different ingredients that we are putting in it. So first up in the first phase, we are dealing with 5 grams of spinach powder. The benefits of that is obviously it's rich in antioxidants and lots of vitamins and minerals, and it will help protect the skin from any sort of stress, which free radicals and all the jazz, and it'll promote collagen production and enhance the skin repair. Big compounds that you're going to find within that are vitamins A, C, E, K, folate, and iron, and also turmeric within the first phase. And so we have benefits, obviously anti-inflammatory, very antibacterial, so it's going to help with redness and blemishes, evening out the skin tone, helping with a nice glow. And for the second phase will be your clays, essentially, and our oils and waxes. And we have kaolin clay in that, which is going to be a very gentle clay that's really good for drawing out impurities, absorbing any excess oil, and soothing the skin. It's going to be really good for sensitive skin types, which is not going to be the case for the bentonite. That's more of a heavy hitter. It's really good at detoxifying the skin, reducing the inflammation, helping with the acne. It's helping to tighten and tone. Silica is going to be found in the kaolin. That's going to help out with skin elasticity. And then with the glycerin, that's actually a spinach glycerite. So that is an infused glycerin, and it's going to obviously, it combines the hydrating properties of the glycerin with all of the antioxidant benefits of the spinach, helping to moisturize the skin and protect against environmental damage. You're going to be dealing with obviously glycerin, vitamins A and C, and the chlorophyll that will be extracted. And the avocado oil is also infused with the avocado or with the spinach. And so it's going to help out as far as the avocado is concerned. Nice skin barrier function, going to be very good with high in oleic, so it's going to be very moisturizing, high in vitamins E. I'm also adding additional vitamin E to help out with hydration and healing. And the rose extract is going to be really great for anti-inflammatory, hydrating, astringent. It's soothing, it's calming, it helps with redness, overall complexion, all of the jazz. So I did this to get essentially a nice calming skin mask that's going to help out with acne flare-ups and overall stressed skin. And so yes, avocado oil there, not butter, because it can be both. And with this, whenever you're approaching a spinach mask, right, or whenever you're approaching a clay mask formulation, rather, and you want to do an emulsified mask, you're really going to approach it the same way that you would a lotion. And so this is going to be a water and oil solution, right? But in addition to the oils that you are adding, obviously, as you could see within this recipe, we did a very small amount of oils within all of this because I don't want just an oil, I don't want a lotion. I want it to be a little bit hydrating and to help out with, the fatty acids that exist within the oils to help moisturize the skin while we have some heavy hitters as far as the clays drying out impurities. But I don't want it to feel greasy. I obviously want this to dry mostly firm, completely, not completely dry, because that's not a good way to use just clay masks generally. But the approach is still much the same. You are going to be starting with water first. And of course, as we see here, not everything mixes with water. And so that will need to hydrate with the spinach and the turmeric hanging out there while we get the rest of it going. But since we are working with water and oils and whatnot, you of course need an emulsifier. This particular e-wax that I'm using is the e-wax NF. I'm pretty sure that's what this one is. So it's going to be good in that it's not going to clog the pores and have any sort of negative reactions as far as your skin is concerned. That said, it's also a very small amount, just generally. We just need a little bit to ensure that everything stays in solution. Although technically, as you could see with all of that, since there's such little oil and such a lot of the clays and your powdered ingredients, it's probably likely going to stay in solution anyway because this clay is going to be absorbing a lot of the water. But because we do have the water within it, we of course have to include a preservative. Very, very important that you include that, and that's why I put it in the final phase to allow everything to sort of cool down before we put the preservative and the essential oils into it. And just because we are also talking about lotions, obviously we're going to be looking at, if we're looking at formulating an emulsified mask, much like you would a lotion, you also are going to expect that we're going to be mixing it in much the same way. And so this is the water phase going into the oils. You could go either way. This was the bigger container, so that's why I did that. And you saw how sloopy that got after I let it sit for around 5 minutes with the spinach and the turmeric, and that all started to loosen up with the water, and so it was more liquid when we put it in here. Now you want to give it a really good mix because again, we are incorporating water elements with oil elements, so we want to make sure that that emulsifier that you've put in is going to be able to do its job and keep everything in suspension. So with the actual spinach powder that I used, this is the spinach powder that I made after doing all the juicing and everything, and I ground it down. I showed you a version of that in one of the spinach soap videos, and then put it in the dehydrator or in my oven. I did my oven for this particular one, and then I ground it down with the mortar and pestle, and then moved on to just putting it in the food processor because I got one of those things again, finally. So that's good. And that's how that came to be. You can just buy spinach powder. It's really easy to find and have and do. So if you'd rather eat your spinach instead of doing all this, I highly recommend it for sure. But this is how I did it. And kaolin clay, bentonite clay, all the jazz, they're going in right now. I like to put them in a little bit at a time to make sure that each addition, each incorporation is fully mixed in and I don't see any lumps of the clays hanging out in the liquid. And I also like to include all of the third phase, so the preservative, the essential oils, and any of the actives, kind of at the halfway point. I've already done that in this video. because if it gets too thick, if you're working with these bentonite clays, remember that is a huge that absorbs the water and all the stuff really quickly. And so if you're working with that, it runs the risk of not fully distributing the essential oils or your preservative across the entire solution very well. So I like to incorporate it while it's still fluid enough to mix in really well. Now, overall, like I said, this mask, it's going to be really great for detoxification, deep cleansing, all the kaolin clays and the bentonite clays. That's going to really work together to draw out all those impurities and really leave the skin feeling really cleansed, really very refreshed. And all of the antioxidant protection that exists within all of this, from the spinach powder, the turmeric, the vitamin E, really, really great to protect the skin from environmental stress, environmental damage, all of the jazz. And obviously the anti-inflammatory and soothing effects, that's going to be great. And that's going to be coming from the turmeric, the rose extract, as well as the bentonite. And that's going to help with, really calming any sort of irritated skin. And hydration and nourishment, it's going to be from the glycerite, the avocado oil, and the vitamin E to make sure that everything is really hydrated and nourished. So at the end of this, your face isn't feeling overly tight. That's not to say that we don't want tightening. We do want a tightening from our masks, but not so much that it feels tight because we've dried out the skin, And then so overall, this is just going to help even out the skin tone, improve texture, all the jazz, because we are purging those pores of all of the nasties, helping out with blemishes, and allowing the pores to really tighten up beautifully because of the bentonite. So overall, really, really excellent formulation. I'm pretty proud of it. Let's go check out the test. Okay, so this is it set up a day later. First up, should you pour it into a metal container? Absolutely not. Don't ever put a clay mask in a metal container. Don't ever do that, okay? And if I see anyone in the comments saying you're not supposed to do that, I'm going to block you because I already know that. I'm telling you that right now. Don't do it. That is a candle container. It's what I had on hand, and I knew that this was going straight home to be used on myself. So, as the texture shows right there, very, very beautiful. Absolutely. Second up, should you leave it out in open air overnight like I did? No, but I like to do that just to see what it's going to do, and how much it's going to dry out if it's not fully sealed. That gives me an indication of whether or not the solution is to my liking, because if it does fully dry out into just clay, just dry dirt at the end, then I don't like the formulation. It needs to be a little bit more fluid. So I put it in this container again because I was going home to test it and everything, and I ultimately decided that I loved this one, and so I'm glad that I was able to get this done first try and not have to adjust anything. But after you are done pouring your clay masks, if you have done a heat phase and if it's above 100 degrees or so, let it cool down until it hits around room temperature, and then go ahead and close them up. And that's what I would recommend. Close them up immediately, seal everything. Don't leave it out in open air. But ultimately, this on my arm, about 15 minutes later, as you can see, it mostly dried up very, very nicely. It's beautiful glow and plumping right away. Looks great. I should do my other arm where my stupid watch always is because that's always damaged. But yeah, this is amazing. I adore this mask. I think this might be one of the best mud masks that I've ever made. I'm absolutely obsessed with this. Everything about this was brightening and tightening and glowing, and it was very good for pore purging, all of the jazz. I don't know if you noticed, but I had a big old, zit on my face right there on my chin, like last week, I guess yesterday, technically, with the most recent video, but the last time I was filming my face. And when I used this on my face, it cleared up really quickly. I didn't have any more, pain with any of it. It was absolutely delightful. I was a little bit concerned because that spinach, once it gets dried and dehydrated and ground down, it got dark. And so I was a little bit worried that my skin was going to take on like a green hue. Ultimately, it didn't, so that was good, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, overall, I really love this. This is a really, really good mask to incorporate in your skincare routine or within your product line if you're into making masks. And as I've talked about within masks generally, I do recommend doing an emulsified mask and not just doing here's some clay. Make it fancy. If you are making for other people, there should be a reason and a method behind the madness, if that makes sense. I'm out of here. The kiddos, as I said, last day of school. I got to go pick them up. They have a half day, and we are going to start our summer adventures. And I'm very excited about that. I will be back tomorrow, though, because speaking of the soap and clay kidlets, our summer adventures had to start with detangling a very big nest of not fun that ended up in soap and clay kidlet number one's hair. And I ended up making a hair mask that I want to talk to you guys about. So look out for that tomorrow. That will be up sometime tomorrow, maybe Sunday. I don't know. But I will see you guys all again then for another round of, fresh, weird stuff that we put in soaps and cosmetics. Soapy fun. Bye.